This is the JetBlaster Pro. Yamaha sent me this Pro to put it through its paces. I'm here to give you a straight up honest review of the JetBlaster Pro. In this dedicated series, we will be covering everything about the Pro, the good, the bad, and everything you need to know. And of course, I'll be stacking the Pro up against my iconic, beloved Yamaha WaveBlaster II to see how far the Blaster name has came in nearly 30 years. And the spicy, controversial bit, how does it stack up against its closest rival in the Sea-Doo Spark? So guys, you know what to do, hit the subscribe button and let's get into the video. So for 2025, Yamaha have seriously stepped up their game and they are gunning for the playful crown. So on paper, the JetBlaster has everything it needs to be a killer package. But let's be real, paper means nothing once you hit the water. Most reviews I've seen so far on the JetBlaster are throwing all the nice, cuddly softball questions at the JetBlaster, but I'm going to try and make this as real as I can and actually give you the answers that you want and ask it questions like, is it as good as the old school iconic WaveBlasters? Is it as good, if not better, than its closest rival in the Sea-Doo Spark Trixx? So in order to answer these questions, I'm keeping it super simple and clear. I'm going to be benchmarking the JetBlaster against two key criterias that playful performance riders actually care about, and ultimately to see if the 2025 JetBlaster is a true match to the 90s legends. Criteria number one is playfulness. Can you throw it around like an old blaster? Can you throw it around like a Spark? And yes, I deliberately picked a WaveBlaster II, not just because I've got one. I know the B1 was a more tippy, more playful ski as a point of comparison, but what you have to think, guys, is back in the day, the B2 was actually considered stable and more compliant, so by today's standard, putting it against the JetBlaster does actually make logical sense. Criteria number two is performance. Playful's great, but when it's time to go, does it actually go? And when I say go, I mean around the course. Can it be a performance machine? For so long, the grumble for all the manufacturers from us guys is, we want 60 miles an hour. And I know this is 53, but I'm interested to see, does the fiberglass with the top deck polypropylene all bond together to give you that more rigid, more aggressive cornering ski? And if there's one place to test a ski's performance around a course, it's here. It's got a slalom, it's got a hairpin, it's got a back straight, it's got all of the components to really test if a ski can be playful whilst also giving you performance. And before you all go crazy in the comments, yes, I will be making a dedicated video against the Sea-Doo Spark, against the JetBlaster and the WaveBlaster II to give you a real strong insight as to how it compares. There's no hiding from that one, Yamaha, I'm afraid. Hopefully they still want to work with me after I've made this video. Cross everything for me, guys. So the first and most obvious thing is the look of this thing. I actually think it's an important part of the criteria of playfulness. Does it look playful? And electric green, I think they actually call it leaf green, and blue, I think it brings back that 90s spirit. Now, yes, I want to see more graffiti graphics across this Yamaha. You've got some on the underside hull, but put loads more on the top. You did it with your original JetBlaster, but for me, the hooligan part of the way a ski looks plays directly into the criteria. Before you even get on it, how kinetic does it look? And this certainly looks dynamic with the colors and the aggression. The two-tone color scheme, they nailed it. It's proper 90s. Yamaha have completely overhauled the top deck design. It's a three-piece design, so it's polypropylene, and if you look closely, you can kind of see the split design. And what Yamaha have actually done is they've designed it so the central section comes away independently in the front and the back stay in position, which means you can keep your handlebars in situ, which is quite a nice detail. Add to that, the hull is 6 inches shorter than the original Gen 1 JetBlaster, making this the lightest Yamaha sit-down since the 90s. They offer 4 versions of the new JetBlaster. You have the Deluxe, you have the Limited, you have the Base, and you have the Pro, which I'm testing. And obviously you have your 2-up, 3-up configurations that you can bolt onto these. Same sort of modular principle as Sea-Doo, but Yamaha have opted for the more aggressive seat on the Pro. But the Pro, in my opinion, is the standout model. Why? Well, for a machine that's clearly intended for fun, the Pro has all of the obvious standout features. Raised racing style bars, foot wedges, hump seat, racing style, more aggressive. It's got a bigger trim angle. It's got 25.5 degrees versus 19.5 on the Gen 1 JetBlaster. And the most important bit is the engine it runs. It has the TR1, which is 1049cc. The Pro has the full fat 110 horsepower, which gives you a top speed of 53 miles an hour. And like I said, you can do a cheeky remap and a few mods to get this to 57. Yes, I know we want 60 miles per hour stock, but at the moment, the TR1 engine is the most capable at trying to hit those numbers. So, let's see if this JetBlaster lives up to expectation. First ever go. Got that rumble of the engine's nice. So we're going to use those two criterias, playfulness and performance, and that will give us a gauge of how capable this JetBlaster is. It's quite interesting because sitting on it for the first time, it feels more akin to the 90s. It's got that rumble that I love from an engine. It's obviously 4-stroke, not 2-stroke. We don't obviously have all the plumes of smoke from the back, but let's put it around the course and see what it's like. Let's give this a launch. That TR1 engine, it's got power in abundance. Woo! I'm gonna have some fun. Now, the bit you all care about is the playful tricks. Now I'm going to do a couple, most notably the wheelie, which you want to see, right? Is it as playful as the Spark? Okay, so it goes up easier than the previous iteration. Yeah, so you can wheelie it easy. I need to play around with it more to see if it's Spark easy. Okay, so it's a very Yamaha characteristic, a handling characteristic. That it feels wiggly and squirrely. It reminds me of the Raider in that regard a little bit. As you get up and you're doing that wheelie, with the Spark you can make micro adjustments. I definitely find that, I obviously only weigh 70 kilos, so I'm a fairly small rider, but I definitely find it easier to hold and sustain it on a Spark. Let's see how loose this is in terms of spinning it. Put the trim down. Okay, so the ass does flick, and that's not even fast. Let's give it a bit more. Woo! Okay, they've definitely introduced a more playful characteristic. What I look for in all of my rides is the ability for the back end to flick and be loose. I love that characteristic in the Spark, and this has definitely got it. Let's do some bunny hops. What I would say is it feels heavier inherently than a Spark. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I'm not sure, because when you take it around the course, it feels more dialed in, like a performance. Guys, quick message, if you like this raw, unedited, my first impressions riding the JetBlaster, then you're getting exactly that, because next episode is an 18-minute of my first ever ride, legit first ride. Today's obviously the review to give you the overview of what the JetBlaster is all about. back to the video. Race-ready ski, if that's even possible on this sort of platform. It feels fast. Going through chalk fine. See if I can entice a Spark rider into race. Yeah, it's a carving machine, but you need to learn how to carve it. It's so squirrely. It's the best way to describe it. Set yourself. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, So that was a lot to take in. Let's try the reverse, which is going to take some getting used to. Nice and slow. So, what do we think? What do we think? So much to take in. I've obviously rode so many skis at this point, both old and new, and it's a visceral experience, can I just say that? The handlebars being wide and higher, it's a lot to get used to. It really is. If you're used to the Spark and you're riding aggressive down low, that's going to be the first thing that you notice, because being up high the whole time means on the aggressive corners, you're going to struggle to get into those corners as much. But the caveat to that, this has actually got a more twitchy, precise style of steering. I would actually say, ironically, it's a very 90s characteristic from a Yamaha, and it's not really gone away. You turn it and it's precise, and that's a positive thing for around the course. I'm not so sure it's a positive thing for when you're doing straight line speed. It reminds me of the Wave Raider a little bit, where at high speeds, it would kind of turn in on you. Not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. You guys put in the comments once you've rode it to see what you think. But the power, that's the next thing, right? It's got 1,000 cc's in here, 110 horsepower, and you really do feel that in the mid-range pull. For the drag races and the pull off the line, I don't know if it's Spark fast off the line, but it definitely continues to pull. And we're seeing 53 miles an hour effortlessly. If I was to buy one of these, I would obviously have to modify it. I would want to get this to the 57, just because I know it's doable. Everyone's done this with the 1,000 cc from the EX. So why wouldn't you do it? As I promised, I will be making follow-up videos based on the WaveBlaster II and the Sea-Doo Spark Trixx to give you a point of reference to the JetBlaster. But my initial impressions is it's not a direct match to the WaveBlaster, and it's certainly not a direct match to the Spark. And when I say a direct match, I don't mean better or worse, I mean different.
She was awful.
She was
horrible.
not good.
Nothing compared to you. She was different. Oh.
A lot of people are going to say, well, the JetBlaster is a copy of the Spark. But I don't think that's fair. It certainly does something similar. But the handling of this, I would say this is more akin to a performance style of ski. When you put it around the course, it really digs in and it's super responsive. Yes, there's that twitchy Yamaha characteristic, which I'm not 100% sure I like or I dislike. To be honest, guys, I'm still trying to make up my mind. I ride it one time and I'm like, wow, I really love it. And I ride it another time after I've rode the Spark and I say, the Spark has almost like more friction in the steering between the steering cable itself and the steering setup. Now, I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing, and I really can't work it out. When that transitions to the playful characteristics, boy, have they put a lot of hard work into the R&D and improving the hull. They've made it 6 inches shorter, and it definitely lets go. It's got that characteristic trait like the 90s where the ass will spin round. As for the wheelies, it does require a lot more body weight. It requires a lot more concentration to keep the wheelie up. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing, again, because for different style of riders, if you've got a bit more weight, I only weigh 70 kilos. Ross has commented on how he feels more comfortable on this because he's came from a likes of a bigger ski. So maybe this is a good bridging ski. You know, it's got a bit more weight behind it. But if you're used to a Spark Trixx, you are going to definitely notice that you have to get a lot more of your weight to the back of this, and you find that you're kind of wanting to pull it up a little bit more. But once it starts to want to fall back down on you, you're really going to want to let that nose fall back down, then reapply the power and punch up. Now, I've noticed that the ride system on Yamaha is not quite the same as the IBR, in the sense that on the IBR, you can actually use that as part of your tricks, as in you pull that brake in and then you can pop it quickly to the accelerator. Now, I know on the newer Spark, that's got even crazier. This to me feels more like an actual reverse and safety feature as opposed to something that you add into your tricks or your bag of tricks. But the pickup on it, I must say, I was super impressed. It is a fast ski. It feels inherently fast, and that's what we've been searching for. It is only 53 still, so I'm not saying it's mind-blowingly fast. It's not 951 fast, but as I've said, if you buy one and you modify it, I think you're going to be super excited because you'll have the playfulness and you'll have the performance to unlock performance. So it's a really, really cool package. As for some of the ergonomic bits, the grip's really, really nice. They bite into your hands. I would say that it's a little bit too high, in my opinion, and too wide. Kind of almost feels like I'm riding a Harley Davidson, if I'd have ever rode a Harley Davidson. But I do think that you tend to find you get a bit more fatigue because your shoulders are up higher. But the caveat to that is, like I said, because it's a fixed handlebar setup, when you come to do those wheelies, Yamaha put a lot of time into getting that rigidity into the steering column. So one of the things about the Sea-Doo Spark Trixx is it's great because it's adjustable, but the bushings do go over time, so you find you get that bit of movement, whereas this feels solid. So it's a bit of a trade-off that they're running into at the moment. They've gone for fixed handlebars, I think, to try and make it the all-out pro Trixie model, but I do think that is its Achilles heel when you get to the race circuit. Now, as for the top deck design, because everyone's really coming for me and saying, Joe, it's a Sea-Doo Spark, I know it's got similarities, it is polypropylene, but because they're using that fiberglass underside with the top deck polypropylene, I think we can kind of give them a design philosophy pass. I do think they will go full plastic in the future, I still think that, but at the moment at least, I think there is still that point of differentiation. They're using that three-piece design, which in itself is different to the Trixx, having to take the full top deck off, but I actually like it. I think these need some padding on them, in all honesty. I was trying to get using my knees into the corners. The wedges feel very, very similar to the Trixx, and as I said, you're going to be spending a lot of time back there because to keep the front up on this, it is inherently that much harder than the Trixx, so you will find yourself constantly there. I did try a couple of times to put my feet back here, but that seemed super precarious. And I also noticed when I fell off, that lack of that grab handle. I know on the 3-up they introduce a grab handle, but you really do want to see a grab handle when you're getting back on. The step is nice, is much bigger for the knee, so that's a good point. The seat does have that nice little hump detail. Is it a proper hump seat like we saw in the 90s? Probably not, and I actually found that I was back here more, so maybe could do with being a bit longer, but other than that, I actually felt quite comfortable quite quickly, apart from the high handlebars, and I was throwing it into the corners with confidence. I did notice whilst I was doing the wheelies that it does kind of want to wiggle on you, so you can't make those micro adjustments the same way that you can on the Trixx. I think that's because it's heavier, so you do have to work harder at that wheelie, but once you master it, I think people are going to love it. Ultimately, guys, I think it's great. It's going to shake up the PWC playful market. This is definitely a playful machine, but it's got a balance of some performance thrown in there. And it's obviously going to get Sea-Doo to have to work a little bit harder for that up-and-coming hopeful Spark XP with a faster engine. So then we can really put these two together. I'm really interested now, having rode a ski that has a fiberglass underside with a top deck polypropylene. Is that an important component for actually getting that rigidity into your ride? Because I've noticed that this is a more aggressive ride than the Spark around the course because it's an all plastic design. Guys, I could keep talking about this all day. There's so much to take in. I need to continue riding this. It's so much fun. It hasn't disappointed. It is different. It has its own quirks. Don't expect it to be exactly like a Spark. So to wrap things up, I'm going to give you some key takeaways of things I like about the JetBlaster and some things I think need a little bit of work. Maintenance, Yamaha have crushed it. The combination of the three-piece top deck design where you can just take that central panel away, leaving the handlebars in situ. And if you lift the seat off, you have 2 access panels. Lots of nice access for being able to wash down and your routine maintenance. And when it's time to take the top deck off, you can leave all the handlebars and everything in situ. The TR1 engine. For me, this is the most capable at the moment in this particular model and segment. With a remap, a few mods, this is going to hit 57 and is near that 60 miles an hour point. The Nano XL2 hull gives you that extra rigidity, and obviously because it's got that gloss finish, less drag, better for the top speed. The angular fighter pilot style design with these nice flowing silver pieces. Design details like this nice wave runner, this embossed, the traction matting with the JetBlaster. Design details like this might seem small, but they add to the overall sense of quality and just that finesse level. The 4.3-inch nice full color display really gives you that arcade vibes. You see it bouncing off the rev limiter, and it really does aid that user experience. It makes it feel more premium. The hump seat, I love that as a throwback detail. Someone who loves the older skis where they had that racing style of hump seat, really cool to see it come back. Hopefully that becomes a staple part of this style of ski. And some things I'm not so keen on. The biggest thing for me is they have to drop the Jet and bring back the Wave. This should be called a WaveBlaster. For me, it's got the DNA, it's got the legacy, so just be committed, get rid of JetBlaster and call it WaveBlaster for 2026. The look of it. Now I'm going to sound as if I'm contradicting myself here. Yes, I love the top deck design. Yes, I love that it's angular, and I love that they're using full color, but it still is too pastel-y. I don't know what it is about both manufacturers at the moment, but they're using pastel colors. Make this a neon green, a neon blue. Bring back the Blurple vibes. If you know, you know. Essentially, look at the 90s, copy and paste that color palette, and you'll be on to a winner. Now the next one. bit contentious, might sound a bit contradictive again, is the Nano XL2 hull. I said that was a positive, which it is, but it also has its negative. At the moment, from my understanding, is they use automotive spray paint on the underside of here. Now for things like docks, things like beaches, the longevity of it, I'm not 100% sure how it will hold up. In my opinion, long term, Yamaha might want to consider going full polypropylene. Maybe they're dipping a toe. Now it is hard because I spoke about the positivity of the rigidity in the hull. So you have to kind of try and find that balance. Maybe they use a combination of the two, but for me, that's a positive and a negative for the underside. Fixed height handlebars, great for freestyle and tricksing, but if you're going around the course and you want to get aggressive, in my opinion, they're too high. They need to go lower. Maybe look at the adjustment. I know that has pros and cons, but for me, you want low for aggressive riding and you want high for tricks. The flush port. For me, I loved on the Yamaha in the 90s, you actually had a port on the top here, so it was really easy to access. Now it's only just here, but it is super annoying for me that you're still flushing and you're putting water into the engine bay, because if you're OCD like me, water ends up getting splashed inside your engine bay, which I know is a small thing because you should be washing your engine bay down, but just having a connection port at the back of the ski or here, I think that's a big deal. And the next one that goes sort of hand in hand with the maintenance-y things is the battery access. This is not just a Yamaha thing, it's super irritating on the Sea-Doo as well, but why do they make it so hard to get your hand down in there and to get to the battery? On the 90s, we had the battery access just here. So just look at a WaveBlaster, look at a Wave Raider, copy and paste what you were doing back then. It was amazingly easy. Open loop cooling. As someone who rides in the salt an awful lot, I would like to see closed loop cooling. That's something I've become used to, and it's a huge thing if you worry about salt getting into your engine, obviously, because it's open loop. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was my take on the brand new JetBlaster Pro. You guys have been asking me tons of questions. Hopefully this was a balanced, honest review. Obviously there's some good, there are some things that still need improvement, and obviously there will be follow-up videos on the WaveBlaster and on the Spark, so you guys can get a full picture of what this does, good and bad. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Because of you guys, Yamaha have gave me this opportunity to test it, and I still did it as impartial as I can, heroing in our beloved classics, heroing a ski that I ride all the time in a Spark, and obviously showing you what Yamaha has to offer comparing to these. So guys, hit the subscribe button, and as always, I don't care if I'm talking about new, the philosophy is always the same: keep the classics alive.